People in England may well be wondering what's happening in Northern Ireland and what all this fuss about the protocol that's been imposed on Northern Ireland by a dirty little deal that Boris Johnson should never have signed up to. Basically what happened in 2019, Leo Varadkar, the Irish government, the European Union, the Republican family, the Nationalist family, when I say family I mean the political organisations and political parties and the terrorist groupings that are still in place. They may not be active, they may not be targeting people, but according to very, very recent reports, the IRA Army Council still controls much of what, well, still controls everything that happens within Sinn Fein. So when people talk about Sinn Fein IRA, it is a factual statement that the IRA, even though they're on ceasefire and not actively targeting members of the security forces, they are still acting as an army council. In other words, a terrorist organisation still has huge influence over the politics of Northern Ireland. Massive influence. People look at Scotland and they talk about a failed state. Well, Northern Ireland, after the Good Friday Agreement, was doomed to be a failed state. It was set up to be a failed state. And Sinn Fein IRA want Northern Ireland to be a failed state so they can shoehorn us into an Irish Republic. And Boris Johnson was hoodwinked by the Irish government, the EU, Sinn Fein IRA, and its nationalist and alliance lackeys, who also put pressure on the British government to invent the protocol. The protocol was not necessary. Much as I'm not a fan of Mike Nesbitt came up with a fantastic idea last week. Yes, you have border checks. You have border checks when products leave the island of Ireland. So to all intents and purposes, the north and south of Ireland become one trading zone within the orbit of the European Union and within the orbit of the United Kingdom. Not satisfactory, not totally satisfactory for unionists by any stretch of the imagination. However, better than what we've got now, when literally trade to Northern Ireland has been strangled. And if any nationalists watch this, whether in the Republic of Ireland or in Northern Ireland, I want to ask you a question. Do Sinn Fein and the parties, the SDLP and the Alliance Party, have your best interests at heart? Because as far as I'm concerned, as someone who's been involved in business commerce in Northern Ireland for the past 30 years, to me, our biggest trading partner is GB, is Great Britain. Now, it might be different for you, but the vast majority of business I've done in the past 30 years has been within the United Kingdom. Yes, there have been bits with the Irish Republic, there's been trade with Europe, but on a personal level, the business I've done has been with the United Kingdom and the vast majority of it with Great Britain. So I want to ask people in Northern Ireland, from whatever persuasion you come from, is the protocol a good thing for you? Is it a good thing for you financially? Is it a good thing for you even from the point of view of convenience? Can you go to the shop and get meats that are in date? Have you noticed that the dates in the supermarkets seem to be slipping a little bit? And if we have empty shelves in April, what will you blame for that? You can blame Brexit all you want, but Brexit isn't the issue here. The protocol is the issue. And the protocol is something that Sinn Fein IRA have insisted upon. And why have Sinn Fein IRA insisted upon this? Because their aim has never changed. They might be using different means. It's like Peter Hitchens talked about the EU as the expansion of Germany by other means. Well, the protocol, the Good Friday Agreement, is the Republican narrative by other means. It's the Republican agenda by other means. It's bullying and intimidating Northern Ireland into an all-Ireland state that would cause absolute disaster and chaos for all the people of Northern Ireland. If anybody thinks any different, they really are kidding themselves. And of course, the other thing that nationalists, and I don't say this to be patronising, but the other thing that nationalists have to be aware of is the United Ireland that Sinn Féin now wants is very different to the United Ireland that the original Sinn Féin wanted. It's very different to the United Ireland that Sinn Féin wanted 20 years ago or 30 years ago. The new Ireland that Sinn Fein IRA are pushing for must be built purely on bigotry and hatred of the British and not on what's best for the people of Ireland. Because what Sinn Fein IRA want to do, what the SDLP, the Sinn Fein IRA lackeys in the SDLP and the Alliance Party want to do, is to shackle everybody in the whole island of Ireland to the European Union forevermore. Because the reality is, the best solution for Northern Ireland would have been leaving the European Union completely. But again, because of the bullying and intimidation that was done to Boris Johnson and Theresa May, everybody told them, you can't force a hard border in the island of Ireland. There was never intention of anyone forcing a hard border in the island of Ireland. Let's talk about the border in the island of Ireland, because 30 odd years ago, I was in watchtowers, I was in OPs, I was sitting hedges in the borderlands in South Armagh. And the reason I was sitting there was not to enforce a customs regime. It wasn't to stop dodgy cows coming across the border. It wasn't to stop dodgy poultry or even dodgy diesel. It was to stop the murder gangs, the death squads, the assassins, the bombers, the shooters, the kidnappers, the bank robbers, the criminals of the Provisional IRA, South Armagh, Tyrone Brigade, coming across the border and committing vile atrocities against innocent policemen, against innocent soldiers, against innocent farmers, against Catholics and Protestants that didn't agree with their vile, disgusting, murderous campaign. That's why there was what was perceived to be a hard border in the 1980s. That's why there were watchtowers. It was to stop terrorists. And the reason that the terrorists were able to operate was because exactly what's happening now. The Southern Irish government was playing fast and loose with the lives of people in Northern Ireland. And the Southern Irish government today is playing fast and loose with the lives of people in Northern Ireland. Okay, there may not be bombs coming across the border, but there's a whole lot of bile coming out of Dublin, a whole lot of poison, and a whole lot of grandstanding. And the Dublin government should be well aware who bailed them out in the last financial crisis. Who bailed them out? Who gave them money so that they didn't sink without a trace because of their over-leveraged banks? Whose idea it was to bail out the banks? The Dublin government's a very short memory. And of course, the people of Ireland very bravely stood up against, I forget which treaty it was, I think it was the Lisbon Treaty. They voted against it. Before the banking crisis, Sinn Féin backed the vote against the Lisbon Treaty. And then after the banking crisis, everything changed. And the powers that be became Euro fanatics because they were terrified that the European Union was going to punish them for what happened during the banking crisis. So, why would any person in Northern Ireland, irrespective of religious background, irrespective of political affiliation, why would anyone support the protocol, which is designed to strangle trade between Great Britain and Northern Ireland? Boris Johnson betrayed Northern Ireland when he signed up to it. He was foolish, he didn't look at the details, and he acted in haste, and he will be repenting at his leisure. And he should look at the history of British politicians that have betrayed the people of Northern Ireland. It doesn't go too well for them. Look at Margaret Thatcher. However, Boris has made one move in the right direction. He's extended the grace period. And for that, the Nationalists, Sinn Fein IRA, no doubt Farry will be spitting his dummy out again. People are going into meltdown because Boris has kept the border open. What a heinous crime. I mean, they're talking about him breaking the law. They're talking about taking him to an international court because he's trying to feed the people of Northern Ireland, who the EU have annexed and who Boris allowed to annex. So I hope that gives some context to my friends in England about why Unionists in Northern Ireland are extremely angry about being swallowed up by the failing European Union. Thankfully, when it comes to medical issues, well, we're still very much part of the UK, and that's why our vaccination programme is going on a pace. And you want to go and get a vaccine, you can get a vaccine in Northern Ireland, you can get a vaccine in the UK, try and get one in France or Germany, where I think only about 6% of their populations have been vaccinated. Well, Northern Ireland quite rightly belongs in the United Kingdom, and I believe there's a very strong case to argue why Northern Ireland should always remain within the United Kingdom. There's an economic case, there's a societal case, there's a political case, and there's a cultural case. And I would go even further and say, as the EU fails, and one of two things will happen with the EU. The European Union will either become a completely totalitarian state, empire, where everybody is ruled by decree of a very, very small and corrupt and, how should we say it, malevolent technocracy. Or the EU will fail and it will fall apart. One of two things must happen. There is no middle road. The EU is pushing for further integration. And many, many countries are getting fed up. It looks like if Le Pen gets in France, the EU is in real trouble. Same with Italy and many of the smaller countries in the European Union. And be under no illusion, the European Union cares nothing for the people of Northern Ireland. It wouldn't have imposed this monstrous protocol on them. It cares nothing for them. And it looks like Boris Johnson cares very little for us either. But what Boris Johnson and what the Nationalists and the Republicans and the Irish government and the European Union must remember is that the people of Northern Ireland care a very great deal about the union of the United Kingdom and of Great Britain and Northern Ireland. And in fact, a poll out today shows that 60% of people in Northern Ireland want to remain within the United Kingdom. So that means a very, very large proportion of the population who is thought to be nationalist, who would be Roman Catholics, support the union. They may not do it overtly because they would be intimidated, they would be ostracised, and they would be threatened in many cases by Republicans and nationalists. But there's a large number of Roman Catholic people in the nationalist community that believe that the UK is a good idea, and that heartens me and encourages me. So, what do we do? What can we do? Well, there's very little I can do. I'm a commentator. I have no influence in Northern Ireland whatsoever. But what I can do is talk about what's happening and tell the people of England what's happening and say, we want your support. We want to remain part of the United Kingdom. We don't want to be hived off to a failed state, a failed corner of the European Union. We don't want that. We want to be part of a prosperous United Kingdom that forges a bright future with Brexit. We don't want the extremists of Sinn Fein IRA and their fellow travellers in the SDLP, the Alliance Party and the Irish government to win. We want the United Kingdom to prosper and succeed. And yes, we want the best for the Republic of Ireland, because a prosperous Republic of Ireland and a Republic of Ireland that is free and open also benefits the United Kingdom. And what an ideal solution to the situation would be is that the Republic of Ireland joining a very strong trading partnership with the United Kingdom and forging on with us into the future, free from the shackles of the European Union. Whether that'll ever happen, I don't know. but that would be a great pipe dream, where the British Isles, including the whole island of Ireland, would walk together into the future of prosperity, free from globalism, free from technocracy, and free from the bullying and despicable underhand tactics of the European Union. That's my dream. I'm a UK unionist who is also very, very fond of my friends and fellow patriots in Ireland. So I would say, people of England, get behind us, lobby your MPs, tell them that you're not happy with the protocol, tell them that you will vote against this Conservative government if this protocol stays at the next general election. Because the next general election is going to be tight. There's going to be some banana skins on the way. And if the Conservative Party think they're going to lose some seats, or think they're going to come under pressure in some of their marginal constituencies, they will backtrack. And as I've always said in this movement, when we were involved in the anti-terror movement, in the movement about the rape of little girls in England, and the whole Patriot movement and the Brexit movement in the UK, in Great Britain and England, I always said we must use totally peaceful and democratic means, and I believe exactly the same for Northern Ireland. There's no place for violence. There's plenty can be done. There's plenty can be done politically. There's plenty can be done in terms of street demonstrations that can be done peacefully and legitimately. I think a march to Dublin would be a good idea, and a march to Dublin under the banner of democracy, because this protocol drives horse and carriage through the Good Friday Agreement. Now, I'm no fan of the Good Friday Agreement. I would like to see the Good Friday Agreement gone, because I'm no fan of sharing power with Sinn Fein IRA. However, that's what we've got. It's probably the best of the bad deals that are available. But the reality is that the protocol destroys the Good Friday Agreement. And loyalists have now today come out and said they've written a letter to the Prime Minister saying they want nothing more to do with the Good Friday Agreement. They're withdrawing their support for the Good Friday Agreement. And the vast majority of unionists came to that conclusion years ago, that the Good Friday Agreement was not the way forward. However, we are where we are, and we've got what we've got. But I believe that if the protocol stays, then Stormont must fall, and the unionist parties will get massive support, all of them, the DUP, the UUP, the TUV, PUP. If they pulled out of Stormont and walked away from power sharing, I believe they would get massive support in the unionist community, and we could look at a completely new dispensation. Well, that's quite a long video, quite detailed. I hope I haven't misrepresented anything. I don't pretend to be an absolute expert in Northern Irish politics. I'm a committed unionist. I'm a member of the unionist community, and I believe that the union of Great Britain and Northern Ireland, including Scotland, including Wales, including England, including Northern Ireland, is a wonderful, wonderful union. It's a great marriage of four countries into one great country, and it's lasted 300 years, something like that. I'd like to see it last another 300 years, way into the future. My grandchildren, great-grandchildren, great-great-grandchildren can enjoy the benefits of living in a stable, free and open society. And that's what's at stake here. Freedom against slavery. The freedom of the United Kingdom opposed to the slavery of the European Union, the anti-democratic European Union. And I hope that the fledgling Ireland exit, our exit campaign gains momentum and gains wings and rises like a phoenix from the ashes, because I think anybody that is a true nationalist in Ireland must come to the conclusion that Sinn Fein IRA have betrayed them. They are traitors to the island of Ireland. They have betrayed the ideal of a free and independent Ireland and have sold their souls to the European Union and everything that goes with that. And for Republicans, that must be a very, very hard and bitter pill to swallow. And sadly, some unionists bought into the same lie when the Brexit vote happened. Mike Nesbitt being one of them, and the Ulster Unionist Party and others. However, that's in the rearview mirror, that's history, and what needs to happen now is unionist parties need to stand together. And Mike Nesbitt's come up with some constructive comments about what to do next. So we need to see the protocol gone, we need to see the Irish Sea border gone, and we need to see free trade between Great Britain and Northern Ireland restored without any interference whatsoever on a permanent basis. And then maybe we can get back to some sort of normality. But until then, nothing will be normal in Northern Ireland. And again, I say to friends in England and friends in the Republic of Ireland, don't for 1 minute think that when you are dealing with Sinn Fein, you are dealing with an ordinary political party. You are dealing with a very, very sinister, manipulative and malevolent organisation that is intent through bigotry and hatred of the British, and that includes British people in Northern Ireland. They are intent on destroying Northern Ireland. That is their eventual aim. That's what a united Ireland means. It means the destruction of a country. It means the destruction of the United Kingdom, and that must never be allowed to happen. See you all soon.